When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich.
So I think the willingness of the mayor of New York to make this a policy debate, a personal attack, just demonstrated a profound lack of judgment.
And the fact that this puts him in the crosshairs, I think Mamdani did this for clicks. I don't think he needed to do this.
If those folks leave, to Anna's point, you're going to have a financial crisis, the magnitude of which Mamdani does not understand.
Good afternoon, beautiful people, and happy Saturday. We are going to get to the good part in just a second, but in light of Mother's Day weekend, I just want to tell all the soccer moms, the mom who are on the go for hours at a time with the kids in the car going from sports to music lessons, you name it. I see you and I feel your joyful pain. And if your kids run track, God bless you and find a good book for your next track meet. But most importantly, happy Mother's Day and relax a little bit. Okay, so let's discuss the socialist mayor Zohran Mamdani. I think this story says a lot more about politics today than it does about one billionaire's apartment. Because what started as a flashy little social media stunt outside a Manhattan penthouse has now turned into a full-blown warning sign about where New York City could be heading financially. And the wildest part is that the backlash is not just coming from conservatives or Fox News. CNN's own panel looked at the situation and basically said, what the hell is Mamdani doing? Welcome to Nelly Miranda.
I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million.
I do think Ken Griffin's discomfort with somebody being outside of his home
They doxed
is
him. I think
reasonable
Mamdani
to have.
really screwed up there. I think it's boneheaded and short-sighted. Listen, Ken Griffin has now moved to Miami. We know, because we live in Miami, Ken Griffin has single-handedly changed the face of philanthropy in Miami. He's giving to everything.
When even people on CNN start calling your strategy reckless, stupid, short-sighted, and dangerous, that should probably tell you something. And before this conversation gets reduced to you love billionaires or you hate poor people, just stop. I'm poor too. This is about whether governing a city is supposed to be about solving problems or producing viral content. And right now, a lot of people are starting to realize New York's leadership seems far more interested in social media optics than actual economic reality. So in the clips I just played, New York City's Mayor Zohran Mamdani made a huge public spectacle around billionaire hedge fund manager Ken Griffin and his massive Manhattan penthouse. Instead of presenting a detailed policy proposal or holding a serious economic forum, he got out the camera to film content. Like, I know old people was looking like, what the heck is going on? That is really what people was reacting to. He's so young, so performative, so do it for the gram. I ain't gonna do it. And then he Nikes it and just does it. And honestly, Anna Navarro's critique of his spectacle is right on point.
So I don't know why he's got to do this entire show. I do think he put Ken Griffin in harm's way, Ken Griffin's children in harm's way. I just think it was stupid, and I think Mamdani should have the humility to accept that and to apologize, because this is a city that is the financial center of the world, and if people like Ken Griffin start leaving and deciding not to buy second homes here and not to have their businesses here, New York City is going to be in a world of hurt.
Many people are failing to acknowledge that New York City's economy depends heavily on a very tiny percentage of extremely wealthy taxpayers. It's just math. So if the math is no longer mathing for wealthy taxpayers, why should they stay? Roughly 1.6% of New Yorkers reportedly contribute close to half of the city's income tax revenue. Not half of rich people's taxes. Half of the city's tax base. Now, whether you like that system or you hate it, whether you think it is fair or unfair, which is completely up to you, the reality is the city currently runs on that money. Subways, public schools, housing programs, etc. They all depend on tax revenue. So the concern people are raising is simple. What happens if a fraction, of those taxpayers decide that they are done with New York, well, I'll tell you what will happen. New York will be in boiling hot water. Remember when Ken Griffin moved major operations from Chicago to Miami? That was a massive economic blow. Billions of dollars gone elsewhere. And it happened because wealthy investors and corporations felt punished instead of welcomed. Blue cities cannot pretend economic incentives do not matter.
I think the willingness of the mayor of New York to make this a policy debate, a personal attack, just demonstrated a profound lack of judgment. Here's the real question. Is New York going to put their fiscal house in order and run itself from a position of a strong government that's pro-business? Why do the Americans think we can do socialism? Like, we have none of that in our DNA, and we're just going to screw it up.
You see, it is easy to make viral videos targeting billionaires. It is a lot harder to explain what happens after the billionaires leave. And seeing as how Mamdani promised a lot of free stuff, he should really tread lightly, because I don't know who he think is going to pay for that if the wealthy just up and flee. One commentator on CNN's panel literally pointed out that if New York loses enough high earners, the financial crisis could be catastrophic. Take a listen.
For that, but I want to pick up with where Anna was leading to. She's right. 1.6% of the wealthiest people in this city pay nearly half of the taxes. If those folks leave, to Anna's point, you're going to have a financial crisis, the magnitude of which Mamdani does not understand. You think about everyday things that people utilize, public transit, safety, education, all of the taxes that go to provide for all of those things for poor people in this city. What in the hell are they going to do if 44% of those dollars all of a sudden disappear overnight?
Now, to be fair, some of the frustration fueling Mamdani's popularity is absolutely real. Housing costs, insane. Groceries, expensive. Rent is crushing people, and gas prices are just criminal. Middle-class families feel like they are drowning. People are feeling abandoned, and when they do feel abandoned, they will vote for whomever they believe is just as angry at the system as they are. Eventually, they'll be let down, but that's the path.
We're not talking about people who are making $1 million or 10 million.
Well, that's still a very small percentage.
We're talking about people who make
even at $1 million.
That's my point exactly. I think one of the things, and I'm not a Zohran Mamdani fan by any stretch of the imagination, but one of the things that has occurred in New York City since he has been elected is that people are paying attention to the class warfare that's happening in this country. And we're not, and listen, we're not just talking about the rich and them being uncomfortable because I simply say tax the rich. In fact, that's not anything on my top 10 policy initiatives. However, when we're having, and there are people in this country that are literally starving. There are people in this country. I'm not finished.
Okay,
there are people in this country who literally cannot. They're the working poor who work 40, 60 hours a week and cannot afford health care. There are people in this country who are going through these things. And so I totally get Zohran Mamdani highlighting the plight of the working poor in this country.
Though that frustration is legitimate, I am glad Michael Singleton mentioned not punishing success. That cannot be a guiding philosophy.
Morally about the plight of working class people. Like, I'm not going to ignore that. Everybody at this table, we have people in our own families that are working class. Sure. I'm never going to dismiss that. But the short-sighted nature of the mayor to go after what I would argue success, because at some point, maybe you go after the top 1%, and when you tax the hell out of them, then you go after the group that's beneath the top 1%. And at some point, everybody at this damn table will be next because of our income levels. So what message does that signal to younger people, to hardworking people in New York City, across the country? Should they not attempt to be successful? Should they not attempt to earn a significant amount of money?
You show the youth that you're out here punishing success, and they're like, well, guess what then? I'm just going to sit on my couch eating potato chips. Punishing success may feel emotionally satisfying for a moment, but if the tax base erodes afterward, the people who will hurt the most are the exact people that the politicians claim that they want to help. So what are your thoughts? Do you think cities like New York are right to aggressively target the ultra wealthy? Or do you think politicians are risking long-term economic damage by turning class warfare into social media content? But more importantly, do you think modern politicians are focused more on optics than actual results? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you got any value from today's video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. And ring the bell so you don't miss any future updates. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.